From biological debt to the uncredible self, you have not fully exhaled in years. Check right now. Not conceptually, actually check. The breath sitting in the base of your lungs, the stale compressed air your diaphragm has been hoarding since before you can remember. There is a shallow ceiling on the inhale, a held quality in the intercostal muscles, the small muscles between your ribs, that your nervous system installed at some point and forgot to remove. You have been breathing at 60% capacity as a baseline, and you have called this normal. This is not stress, this is structural. Your body has been keeping accounts. Every physiological threat you have ever processed, every moment of social humiliation absorbed in silence, every suppressed confrontation that ended with a smile, every anticipatory dread about a conversation you have been avoiding, has been encoded in your tissues. The fascia around the jaw, the chronic shortening of the psoas muscle that tips the pelvis forward and compresses the lumbar spine, the raised, held position of the shoulders, levator scapulae, in permanent mild contraction, as though waiting for a blow that never arrives but never doesn't arrive either. These are not bad habits, these are biological bookkeeping. Your nervous system has been recording every social threat as though it were a predator, because the nervous system cannot tell the difference. It wasn't designed to tell the difference. The amygdala that fires for a lion and the amygdala that fires for public embarrassment are the same amygdala. The cortisol response is identical. The adrenaline spike is identical. The blood routing away from digestion, away from immune function, toward the large motor muscles is identical. You have been spending the emergency budget on emergencies that never required emergency spending. The compound interest on this debt is felt as the specific heaviness at the base of the skull at 3 in the afternoon. You know that weight. It is not tiredness, it is accumulated entropy. Your telomeres shorten with every cell division. These are the protective end caps of your chromosomes, repetitive DNA sequences that allow accurate replication, and they erode with each copy. This erosion is not a malfunction, it is the cellular implementation of the second law, the Hayflick limit, the finite replicative lifespan of human somatic cells, approximately 50 divisions, is physics translated into biology. Elizabeth Blackburn won the Nobel Prize for demonstrating that chronic psychological stress measurably accelerates telomere shortening. The body does not distinguish between physical threat and psychological threat at the cellular level. Every performance review that activated the threat response, every relationship rupture that flooded the system with cortisol, every night of disrupted sleep from a mind running its anxious loops, these were not just felt, they were inscribed in the length of your telomeres, in the biological age of your cells. The ledger is not metaphorical. It is molecular. Chronic cortisol elevation, the biological consequence of a nervous system that never fully returns to baseline, suppresses immune function, accelerates cognitive decline, redistributes adipose tissue toward visceral fat, and impairs the hippocampus's capacity for new learning. The hippocampus, your primary memory formation structure, physically shrinks under prolonged cortisol exposure. This has been measured. People with PTSD show measurable hippocampal volume reduction. The stress is not just felt, it literally removes the architecture of your cognitive flexibility. The ledger does not merely record the debt, it collects it from the tissue. Feel where in your body this lands. There is a quality of fatigue that arrives with this information that is different from ordinary tiredness. It is the fatigue of recognition, the specific exhaustion of realizing the bill is larger than you knew, and has been accumulating longer than you suspected, and is already in arrears. Stay with that weight. Don't rush past it. The work of Peter Levine and Bessel van der Kolk on somatic trauma has mapped what yogic traditions documented 3,000 years earlier. Unresolved threat responses are stored as tension patterns in the connective tissue. The fascia, the continuous web of connective tissue that wraps every muscle, organ, and bone, holds the imprint of every mobilization response the nervous system initiated and did not complete, the flinch that was suppressed, the run that never happened, the cry that was swallowed. These are not memories. They are stored motor programs that have never been discharged, maintained in the tissue at a low metabolic cost, waiting for an all-clear signal that the threat detection system has never transmitted because it considers the environment still unsafe. You are carrying in your body right now the unresolved mobilizations of decades. The weight at the back of the neck, the armored quality of the chest, the belly held just slightly in, always slightly in, as though braced for impact. These are the physical entries in the thermal ledger. Real, measurable, present. Now, here is what the ledger does not and cannot contain. The awareness that is right now reading the ledger is not in the ledger. The consciousness that is noticing the jaw tension, the shallow breath, the weight at the back of the skull, that noticing is not made of jaw tension. It is not cortisol. It is not fascia. The witness of the debt is not in debt. Notice this with some precision. You are right now aware of the weight in the base of the skull. That awareness and the weight are two different things. The awareness is present. It is not oppressed by what it is aware of. A mirror is not stained by what it reflects. The awareness is present. It is not oppressed by what it is aware of. A mirror is not stained by what it reflects. Awareness in which the thermal ledger appears is not carrying the ledger's weight. This is not spiritual bypass. The ledger is real. The telomere damage is real. The cortisol is real. None of that is being dismissed. What is being pointed at is something subtler, that the one who is burdened and the one who is aware of the burden are not the same thing, and what you actually are, what has been here continuously, through all the threat responses and the fascial contractions and the accumulated years of incomplete exhales, is the witness, not the record, the recording device, not the content, the container. Breathe that in slowly, and this time let the exhale go all the way to completion, the full release, the bottom of the breath, where the diaphragm is fully descended and the abdominal muscles have nothing to hold, and for one moment there is no breath at all, just the brief open stillness at the base of the cycle before the next inhale arrives on its own. That pause is the gap in the ledger. There is no entry there. The nervous system is not tracking that pause as asset or liability. In that gap, which has always been there, at the bottom of every breath you have ever taken, the ledger is simply absent. Rest there for a moment. No debt there. No accumulated cortisol. No shortening telomeres. Just the open present, perfectly balanced awareness that has always been at the bottom of every breath, whether you noticed it or not. This is what the Mandukya Upanishad points at when it speaks of the Turiya state, the fourth, which underlies and pervades the other three. Not sleep, not dream, not waking, but the witness of all three. The one that is present at the bottom of the breath and at the top and in the middle and before and after. The one that the thermal ledger is written in, but that is not itself written on. The fascia still holds its patterns. The telomeres still shorten. The cortisol still has a half-life in your bloodstream. And the awareness that has known all of this has not aged by a single day, has never once been stressed, was never in debt. The ledger is real, but you are not the ledger. You are what reads it, what has always read it, what will continue reading it with the same unflinching, uncorroded, perfectly clear attention as the debt is worked through, as the exhale deepens, as the jaw begins, slowly, one breath at a time, to unclench. Owed nothing, already free.